So Among Us has taken the world by storm this year, shooting up to the ranks of games like Minecraft and Fortnite. Even though it was released 2 years ago, it was able to rise again with streamers playing it on Twitch. But what's even crazier about Among Us' Cinderella story is how small the team making it is. If you don't know, Innersloth, the indie gaming studio who brought you the Henry Stickmin collection, Among Us, and Dig to China? But regardless, Among Us was made by only 3 people, which is less than the amount of people required to play a game of Among Us. Which is shocking to see such a small project, which was on the verge of death, rise up to become one of the most popular games out there at the moment. With so many games out there, it seems the only reason it was able to do this is because of the game's charm and inherent strategy, which people can't get enough of. But the main thing we're here to talk about is the new map, the Airship. So let's get into that, shall we? But before we do that, I'm just gonna say that you should try subscribing. Most of the people watching this video are not subscribed, so maybe try subscribing, you might like it. You just get notified for all the videos to come, and subscribing is also free. So that means anyone can do it. It's really simple. You just click the subscribe button, and you get to see all the videos to come. So at the Game Awards, we got the first gameplay of a brand new map, the Airship, which is taken directly from Henry Stickmin. But we've known for a while that the Airship was coming, ever since September with the cancellation of Among Us 2. The Innersloth team has said that the next map would be from the Henry Stickmin games. And while places like the Wall or the Jungle Base would make for really good maps, we all knew it would be the Airship. So the trailer starts off in the cockpit of the Airship with a voice recording of the leader of the Toppat clan, Reginald Copperbottom, welcoming us as recruits and to get to work. And in the cockpit, we can see Reginald, his right-hand man, Jeffrey Plum, Mr. Macbeth, Frederick Muenster, Sven Svensson, Bert Curtis, Ellie Rose, and of course, Henry Stickmin, all as Among Us crewmates. We also see a vent, a possible space for diverting power, and probably the stabilized steering task. And also a room on the bottom right that appears to be the location of the put away guns task. And just with this, we can tell that Among Us takes place in the Toppat Recruits timeline, where, spoilers if anyone cares, you and Ellie are forced to choose between the government, the Toppat clan, and the Wall. And if you choose the Toppat clan, you get the Toppat Recruits ending, where Henry and Ellie join the Toppat clan. And we know that Among Us takes place in this timeline because Henry and Ellie both join the Toppat clan in this ending. It can't be the Toppat for Life ending because Ellie didn't join the Toppat clan in that one. And it can't be the Toppat King ending either because we can see that Reginald is still the leader of the Toppat clan, and not Henry. Because he still has both of his Toppats, not giving one to Henry like in the Toppat for Life ending. In fact, crewmate Henry wears the specific Toppat that he wears in the Toppat Recruits ending, a navy blue hat with a gold H buckle. This means it must take place in the Toppat Recruit ending, or so I thought. Because you see, there's actually one piece of evidence that contradicts this theory, and that's the right-hand man. In Henry Stickmin, the right-hand man is the right-hand man of Reginald. And in infiltrating the Airship, you can have an encounter with him on the relentless bounty hunter / rapidly promoted executive route. When chasing Reginald, Henry encounters the right-hand man, who you face in a turn-based RPG-inspired battle. And after defeating him, he makes a return in completing the mission as the right-hand man reborn, because Toppat engineering is the greatest. But his robot form makes things more complicated, as we see him as half-robot in Among Us, while in the Toppat Recruits ending, he's normal. And a simple explanation would be that Henry gave leadership back to Reginald after the Toppat King ending, which would make sense. I just don't think that's the case, as Henry hasn't given up leadership in the past, only having it sort of being taken away by Reginald, as Henry wasn't involved in the Toppat clan's business, being unaware of Reginald usurping his position. And we see this in completing the mission in the Toppat King route, when Henry and Ellie regroup with the Toppat clan.
Henry, you're back. I took charge in your stead. I hope you don't mind.
So this means Among Us takes place in neither timeline because it doesn't completely fit with either. Although, an explanation for the right-hand man reborn being in the Toppat Recruits timeline could just be that he was severely hurt in a battle with the government. After all, we do see Charles use a spaceship in the Valiant Hero timeline. But realistically, without solid evidence for either, we can't definitively place Among Us in any specific Henry Stickmin ending. Back to the trailer though, we next see the vault with the Romanian ruby in the center, and with treasures and mannequins surrounding it. And the mannequins being highlighted makes me think that they're part of a new task for the Airship. We also see the brig to the right, where we see a Wi-Fi panel for the reboot Wi-Fi task, and a wizard hat, which references infiltrating the Airship, when Henry tries to open the door to the vault with magic, but rolls a natural one and freezes himself. Next, we see security, which is different from Henry Stickmin because it actually has an outdoor entrance in which Henry enters. I think it's definitely possible that the game skips this area, or at least it's added in Among Us to connect the whole area. Regardless, we do see the rest of security when Henry first infiltrates the airship on the bounty hunter route, and it looks extremely similar in Among Us, except for the air vent being replaced with an exit to the hallway. There's also what appears to be cams, which Reginald is using, and 2 screen kiosk things. One of them being highlighted tells me they're probably related to a task. But we actually get a sneak peek at a portrait in the hallway, which appears to be a crewmate version of Terrence Suave, who was the previous leader of the Top Hat clan before Reginald, who was overthrown because of his reckless nature and poor leadership. We then see a task in medical, another new location, of removing trash from a trash can, as well as a list of tasks in the top left corner of the screen. The tasks are enter ID code in cockpit, empty garbage in meeting room, download data in gap room, stabilize steering in cockpit, and calibrate distributor and divert power to showers in electrical. So wires being in the viewing deck does confirm that it is there, or viewing platform as it was called in Henry Stickmin. And I definitely think it connects to security, and the extra section was added for Among Us. We then see the vault again with Henry doing the polish ruby task, but we also see a Wi-Fi panel and a vent. We then see the meeting room, or boardroom in Henry Stickmin, which looks identical to infiltrating the airship so far, besides a security camera and a panel for diverting power. I also think this trash chute we see above Henry will be used for the empty garbage task, as we just saw Henry remove trash from the bin in medical, and the other part of the task is in the meeting room. We then see the first use of ladders ever in Among Us, as Henry uses one to go down to the gap room, in which we then see Henry use a moving platform to move across. In the gap room, we see a vent in the bottom and also a pencil, which is another reference to Henry Stickmin like the wizard hat. We see Henry attempt to cross the gap in the gap room using a magic pencil. However, he draws a monster that attacks him instead of helping him. Next, we see that you have the option to choose which room you start in after a meeting, which is definitely going to add a lot more strategy to the game, as well as make it easier to do tasks. You have the option to choose between the engine room, the records room, and the main hall. The engine room, which we do see in Henry Stickmin, is probably underneath the gap room. The records room, or records library, is seen in Henry Stickmin. It's right next to the gap room, but the main hall isn't in Henry Stickmin. But it's also possible that that's a new name for the quarters hallway. Henry chooses the engine room, and in there we see a vent to the bottom, a crane, which I think will be used in a task, and also a hole seen in the fuel engines task. We also see more tasks, which are fix wiring in the lounge, download data in records, reset breakers in electrical, put away rifles in the armory, divert power to gap room in electrical, clean toilet in lounge, and polish ruby in vault. We then see Henry run from records as there is an emergency. We also see that if someone uses the platform, anyone on the opposite side is unable to use it, which is extremely interesting and makes me excited to see how it affects gameplay. Next, we see the kitchen, another new location. It's definitely connected to security as we see the other side of the hallway, which we saw previously. In the hallway, we see 2 new portraits, one of a crewmate version of TRNK, who was a failed experiment in resurrecting a long-dead leader. He didn't last long before turning on everyone, though. The other portrait is one of a crewmate version of Billy G. He was quite the romantic, despite multiple claims that he's not my lover. We then see the right-hand man reborn jump out of a vent and use the new execution on Henry, which is him eviscerating a crewmate with his laser eye. We definitely see him do this a lot in completing the mission, but we also see him make a giant energy ball, so maybe we'll see him do that in another execution. We'll just have to see. Well, that is it for the trailer, as the last thing we see is that the airship will be coming in early 2021. Alright, that would have been it. I had this whole message planned, but actually, when I was finishing editing this video, I found out that on the Switch version of Among Us, which literally just came out, there's a glitch that lets you play on the new map. So the new map is technically out, like people can play on it, basically. So it's like right as I was making this big analysis video, the map sort of just released. So yeah, that sucks, but I mean, it's just like Animal Crossing with Crazy Red. Like, he came back the day that I was making that video. So, you know, make sure to like, subscribe, I'll see you next time, I guess. Yeah, maybe I'll do another video when the map comes out. Maybe you'd like to see that. But yeah, see you next time. Bye.